Hello and welcome to episode 137 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is April 4th, 2022. Today I'm wearing one of my favorite little cowls or loops. The pattern is called Strider by Susan Pandolf. It's out of her Lord of the Rings Part 1 series. She did another series for Lord of the Rings Part 2, The Two Towers, but unfortunately she never did the third series. I keep hoping that maybe one day she'll do those patterns, but yeah, that was part of the first series, The Fellowship of the Rings. It's named after Strider, after Aragorn, and it's this beautiful mix of cable and lace pattern. This is the second time I knit the pattern. The first version is in a dark grey, so a lot more suited to Strider. Yeah, I also like that a lot because it's dark grey. I can wear it with basically everything, but I wanted another brighter version, lighter version that would show off the pattern more. So that's when I knit this. This is Opal yarn, the series Beauty, which has some vitamin E and some other stuff in the yarn to make it a bit softer, to make it good for your skin. And so I thought this is the perfect yarn to use for a cowl. And of course, these are my favorite colors. So yeah, that was a very easy decision back then when I knit this. So this is the cowl Strider by Susan Pandolf. And the pullover I'm wearing, the pattern is called Phantom, and it's a pattern by Anne Wettstein, who has a German podcast called Strick mit Kick. And when she designed the pullover, she was looking for testers, and one of my friends who watches her podcast, she sent me a message and said she's looking for small testers, so she wants people to test the smaller sizes. She herself wears a bigger size, and she thought, well, I'm rather small, so she thought maybe I would like to do that, and I did. It's a very interesting pattern in that the yoke is knit in a 2-color brioche with a worsted weight yarn for one color and a fingering weight yarn for the other color. So that's rather unusual. And then, so this is just for the yoke. And then the sleeves are designed just in stockinette with the fingering weight yarn, and the body is knit in stockinette with a thicker yarn. And then there's a little brioche detail going down the front, but this is just the one color. And then at the bottom of the pullover, there's a little 2-color brioche section where you have just the second color in this bit. So she thought of a way to be able to do that with the 2 colors in just this part and no second color in the rest of the part. And the pattern said to knit just stockinette and then cast off, so you have a little rolled edge on the sleeve and on the front and back. I did that for one sleeve and for the front and back, took pictures, gave my feedback, but I wasn't too happy with the rolled edge, so I decided that as there is already a brioche pattern in the front, I decided to add a little brioche ribbing to the bottom of the front and back. And then I cast off with the I-cord. I think she called for an I-cord at the bottom of the stockinette, so it's supposed to roll less, but I wasn't too happy with it, so I opted to do the brioche bit and then the I-cord, and then I did the same for the sleeves. I undid part of the first sleeve. I hadn't finished the second sleeve anyway, so there's this brioche bit ribbing down here, and you can see that this yarn is only half as thick as this yarn. So I thought that was a really interesting idea to do that. If I'd done the brioche with this thick yarn for both colors, it'd be really heavy pullover. And just to have the idea to use those different yarn weights, I thought was really interesting and really funny. And I've been thinking that it's possible to wear the pullover inside out, so it would look more blue than red. But then you have the reverse stockinette that I'm not too fond of. But what I thought would be fun is to knit a pullover completely in brioche, in 2-color brioche, and then use the 2 different yarn weights. And then you could turn it around, you have a reversible pullover. But before I try to do that, I will wait for the Sockomatician to come out with his book about double knitted brioche, because then the increases and decreases they will be the same on both sides. So with normal 2-color brioche, if you put a pattern in like these increases, they look different on the back side. So it's not really ugly, it's just different. So this is obviously the right side, and you can see the pattern looks different on this side. So once he comes out with his book and I learn his technique, I want to knit a whole pullover with the increases in the yoke and the pattern or whatever. I don't know what to do yet, but I just love the idea of having those 2 yarn weights and then be able to wear it this way around or the other way around. Yeah, so that's my Phantom with the changes I made after I'd finished the test knit, and and my beautiful Strider cowl. Now on to finished objects. I have 3 finished objects today, and today's a fun episode because I have 2 new cast-ons and both are finished objects. And the other works in progress that I am still working on, I only worked on almost exactly half of them, and that's because of the sock madness, but I'll talk more about that when we get there. I will start as usual with my oldest work in progress. That's now a finished object, and that's the Raglano Pullover. So I finished it. Didn't do a lot, I just added a few more rounds and then decided it's long enough. This is the length I want. It's difficult to tell like that because I have to pull it apart and then you can see it's not a very long pullover. It's probably the same length as this one. From what I remember, it's almost exactly the same length as this one. So it's not a crop pullover, but it's not a long pullover either. And it's kind of this normal length sort of thing that I was looking for. I haven't washed it yet. I wanted to wash and lightly block the front and back. That was my original idea. But several people who've seen me in the pullover have told me not to block it because they said the ribbing is sort of the main feature of the pullover, and it would be a shame to block it out so that it's sort of flat. So I decided I will just wash it. I will lay it down to dry, and I will keep the ribbing in. It does show my figure more than I usually like to do, but everybody tells me it's okay. And then next week I'll be wearing this, and then you can tell me what you think about it. Yeah, so this is 6-ply yarn or DK weight yarn by Opal out of their Rainforest series. And as I said before, so this is the color I use. This is the leftover from the third 150-gram ball. This is where it says 6-ply, which I think is kind of DK weight. And this is the same color in the 4-ply, which is the fingering weight yarn. And as I said, this is the same color. And they usually look a tiny bit different. I always think the thicker yarn takes the color just a little bit different than the thin yarn. And I am planning to knit another cowl or loop kind of thing out of the 4-ply yarn. And originally I just wanted to do a ripped cowl, just a 2x2 rip. So it looks like a turtleneck. But I received the new book by Bernd Kessler. It's the first book by him that's first published in German and not in Japanese. And a friend of mine gave it to me, and there's a really interesting cowl that has also 2x2 rip in it. And I will probably knit that, but I'll tell you all about that once I've started the project. Just wanted to let you know this is going to be a new cast on, and I hope to be wearing this pullover next week on my episode. Just if you're interested, the whole pullover weighs 350 grams. So not too much yarn, but that's the advantage if you're small, if you're little. Yeah, so that's the first finished object. Then the second finished object is my March gnome. Oops. So I actually knit him during the last few days of March. If you don't know what a March gnome is, Sarah Shearer has decided that this year is the year of gnomes, and you can knit a gnome a month and fill out a form on her website, and then you can take part in some giveaways and just have fun. And I like to have fun. I like to knit gnomes, so I decided to take part. And so far I've knit a gnome every month. And this is Noah out of her No Fun Like Gnome Fun pattern. So this is the smallest gnome I've knit this year. I have knitted this pattern before, but I've given the other Noah away. So this is now the only Noah that I have here. And I love him. And the hat and the body are knit, and the hands and nose are knit out of alpaca silk by Hansa Farm. I used the same yarn for the January and February gnome. So far I've used the same yarn for all of the gnomes. But the beard is mohair silk by Hansa Farm held double. And as far as I remember, this is the first mohair beard that I've knit. I kept thinking it's probably a nice thing to do because it's so fuzzy and hairy. And I love it. I love the way it looks. In the pattern, you knit the beard and the nose in the same color, but I thought the white nose would probably disappear. And I also thought that white fuzzy hands might look a bit funny. So I decided to use this beige color for the nose and the hands, and then this white mohair yarn for his beard. And I love him. I think he's so cute. Very happy. So that's the first new cast on, which is a finished object. And then the second new cast on that's also a finished object is are the round 2 Sock Madness socks. And before I show you, let me just talk about it a little bit. Last year, when I took part in the Sock Madness for the first time, I was a bit worried that during Sock Madness, I might end up with a video where I say, last week, I knit a pair of socks, and that's it. Bye-bye. But last year, it always happened that the pattern dropped in a way that I had either already knit quite a few things before the pattern dropped, or I finished my socks and still had time to do other things. Last week, it was a bit different. I knit a little bit on Monday evening and Tuesday morning, but then Tuesday afternoon the pattern dropped. So from Tuesday till yesterday I basically just knit Sock Madness socks, and this is why I haven't knit on half the projects that I should be working on. And then I did a few other things last night, but Sock Madness. I told you last Monday that I already knew that we had to use 3 different colors. I was looking at a few colors, but then when the pattern was there, I changed my mind as usual, and I decided to use these 3 colors. This is Opal Comedy. It's a really old series, probably 2 or 3 years old. I love the color. I had never used it before. I decided to pair it with the white and a dark blue. I took a black and white photo. I was quite sure that the contrast between these 3 colors would be good. And then I started knitting, and because if I had made the pattern up, I would probably have done the cuff in the darkest color. So I knit a dark blue cuff. And when I was supposed to start the other 2 colors, I realized that the cuff was supposed to be knit in the main color. And I wanted this turquoise, this colorful ball to be the main color. So I put the cuff aside. I didn't undo it. I just put it to the side, started another cuff in this color, and started the pattern. So this is what that looked like. So that was the cuff with this colorful yarn, and this is what the pattern looks like. It's called Plaid Pocket Socks, and it's designed by Chiaogoo, who's known as Cow from Mars on Ravelry. Really funny name. And this is the plaid pattern that she designed. I thought it looks really nice. I really like the colorful yarn. in combination with the white and dark blue. And I had also started the pocket. So the pocket is knit in double knitting. So you knit the main color for the pocket and you knit the contrast color for sort of the sock itself. And I posted some pictures on Ravelry, and then I was told that yes, I can choose whatever color I want, but they strongly discouraged people from using like a multicolor yarn or a variegated yarn. So they told me it might be harder for the moderators of the Sock Madness to see if I did things right. And yeah, so they told me they weren't too happy with my color choice. And then I thought, well, I'll just knit them anyway, so I can, because I like the colors and I don't mind if I don't go on to the next round. But then I thought, if I keep knitting this, it'll be too big for me. I will probably have to give them to somebody else. So I decided I already have a dark blue cuff. I will make dark blue my main color, and I'll just find a third color to go with the blue and the white. And then I can knit those for the competition, and then I can use the beautiful color for myself, and I can cast on fewer stitches because this is just too wide for me. And if I can use fewer stitches, I need to knit fewer rounds for my foot, and then I can have beautiful socks with a pocket, knit in my own time. And that's what I decided to do. So Tuesday evening, I put this to the side. I put the blue cuff back on my needles, and I went, took a dive in my yarn stash at home, and I came up with this ball of yarn. This ball, there were 3 grams missing, so it was 47 grams. It didn't have a ball band. I'm not quite sure where I got it from. I think it's probably Wollerödel yarn, but I don't know. But I just thought this should be a nice contrast. This should show the pattern really clearly. And I knew that for a contrast color, I think the pattern calls for 30 grams or something. So I knew with the 40 something grams, it would be enough. And I started knitting. And this is what the pattern looks like once it's knit up. So you have this beautiful plate pattern that's a lot clearer now with these colors. Several people have told me it looks a bit like the TARDIS, which I love because I think Doctor Who is great. Yeah, and then you have this pocket that's knit in double knitting. So the back of the inside of the pocket has the contrast colors, and the outside of the pocket is the main color, and it's all knit on the go. There's no sewing or seaming involved. It's a very interesting heel flap. The gusset decreases are on the bottom of the sock, which looks really interesting. And yeah, and I finished them both, and they are approved, and I actually went on to round 3. Before I started filming, I checked there are still 4 spots in my team. One team is already full, but some of the teams have still plenty of spaces. So I don't think this round will be over as quickly as the first one. Not quite sure whether it'll take the whole 2 weeks, but I'm pretty sure that this week I'll be able to knit on all the other projects, and the next round is not going to start yet. So this is my 2 Sock Madness round 2 Plaid pocket socks. I'm really happy with them. And this week, my first new cast on that I've planned is to knit the pattern in my colors in my size. So that's all the finished objects I have today. Talked a bit more about them, but they did take up a lot of my knitting time last week. So on to works in progress. And I can tell you, I did not knit on the 24-day socks, did not knit on the rainbow cardi, did not crochet on this little doily thing that I'm knitting for my stovetop, and I did not knit on the Wolkig. I really, really want to finish it, but the Sock Madness was just more important. But the things I did knit on, I knit on the cat socks, the mindless knitting that I can do anytime, anywhere, and I changed to the black color. So this is just like a vanilla sock so far, and now I'm going to knit with the black until the foot is long enough. I'll do a black toe, and then I will embroider 2 ears and a cat and 2 eyes, and I think a nose to have a little cat face on the top of the foot. Yeah, so plain black knitting, kind of like the black cardigan. But now the days are getting a bit longer, so it's not too bad to have to be knitting black projects. And then this is another vanilla sock, but without a heel so far. This will get a afterthought heel. And last week I had just cast on the second one, and I put a little bit of knitting into this before the pattern of the Sock Madness dropped, so that's why I can show you a little bit of progress. And now you can see that that the stripes are the opposite. How do you say? Anyway, so the blue stripes and the white stripes come together, and this grey is here and the grey and yellow is here. So I have different socks out of the same yarn, the way I like them. Yeah, so that's socks for today. Then I continued knitting on the Go Big or Go Gnome hat pattern, and I used those 2 Opal Beauty colors. That's the same kind of yarn as this one, but this was last year's series, and this is this year's series, but this is the it says Beauty, and then the, I don't know what Edelweiss extract is in English, and vitamin E. And so these are my gnome colors, and then the solid color is what this is called is my main color for the hat and also for the pullover I'm planning. And I finished knitting the gnomes. So I finished them when I needed a break from the Sock Madness socks, because I was knitting on the small circular needles because of the color work. And after several hours of doing that, I just needed to have something else in my hand. So I quickly finished those few rounds that were missing. I love the way that one of the hats goes like this, and then the other hat just goes up like that. Yeah, and now I think I already did the first decrease round, so I think this should get finished really quickly now, and then I have a nice new hat, and I have a wonderful gauge swatch for my pullover. And then this is the next cast on that I'm planning after the plate pocket socks. I want to cast on the Go Big or Go Gnome pullover. Yeah, then 2 more things. I continued crocheting. That's what I did last night after I finished my Sock Madness socks. I crocheted on the Stomp blanket, and I actually added 10 rows to the blanket. So I'm hoping to do 10 rows every week, so I get the blanket finished in time for before the next school year starts, because the little boy is supposed to get this for his start of school. Let me just quickly grab a stitch marker. I lost one of the stitch markers last night, and I put both the stitches on the same marker, but then I can't show you the blanket. So I always put the loop of where I stopped crocheting on one of those stitch markers, and as I'm crocheting with 2 different colors, I'm basically crocheting 2 different blankets, but they are interlocked, so they stick together. But that's why I always have those 2 loops, and then I have to see. So when the blue row is a bit higher, I know I need to crochet with the green yarn, then that's a bit higher than the blue, and then I switch to the blue yarn. And this is what it looks. Whoops, see daisy. Hang on, let me just quickly get my yarn sorted. So, yep. This is what my dinosaur looks like at the moment. And I just love it. So as you can see, the second grass thingy or plant thingy is finished. I think it's finished, yeah. And then the first leg is almost finished. Probably next row we'll sort of close this gap here. So this is the whole leg with the toes and those spots. And this is one of the stripes on his belly. So he has stripes on his belly. And this is the second foot. And keep forgetting which is which, but this is sort of the foot, and this is, I think this is the leg, and this is the foot, and I don't know, but as soon as that's finished, it'll be more obvious. And yeah, I'm really happy with how the yarn looks, how the colors sit in different places, and the way the dinosaur is growing. And the interesting thing with this pattern, I think, is that while I am crocheting, I don't really notice what is what. So especially when I'm on the back side, I don't know what is what. But even crocheting this way, I just count how many stitches to the front, how many stitches to the back. And while I'm crocheting, I'm not aware that this is the stomach and that this is the foot or anything. And I'll just crochet a few rows, and then I'll look and I'm like, oh, look here and look there. It's so much fun. I love it. Yeah, so that's the crochet blanket stomp. Again, the 6-ply opal rainforest yarn and a solid color, dark blue. That's that. And then the last project I'm going to show you today is our knit along for the star pillow or cushion. And I'm happy to tell you that I translated the tutorial that I filmed how to knit this cushion into English, and my husband got the translation and the pictures together somehow, and we have released the video on YouTube. And if you have any questions on how to work this pattern, it's a simple pattern. I'm not saying it's difficult. Most of you won't probably need the tutorial, but one viewer wrote in the comments that she was looking forward to it because she had a few questions. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial and it helps you knit a star cushion or pillow for yourself. So I added a few rounds on this, and I'm actually in the last round of this middle piece. And once I finish that round, I can start the next middle piece. And when I have 2 of those pieces, then I can start knitting the star points, and then it will start looking like a star. And once I put the stuffing in, then it will look like a cushion. Yeah, this is the grey glitter yarn by Rico, but it's an old yarn. I don't think it's still available. But you can use any sock yarn, and 100 grams are enough to finish this pillow. So if you want to join, please do. And if you want to, you can show off your pictures in the Ravelry group for Kikos Strickschule. Yep, that's it. That's everything I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.